From the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Midwest, you're watching Beyond the Blast Doors live.
Episode 59 of Beyond the Blast Doors is live on this Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us. We're looking at you. You're looking back at us. We're in this moment together, and we're having a blast. I am so excited to be talking Star Wars with you. Got a lot going on just in the last 72 hours. My goodness. Episode 9 has wrapped production. The Mandalorian Season 1 has wrapped production. We get a Triple Force Friday. But there's one Star Wars property that didn't get any love. And we have a special guest today. Joining us today, Pete Fletzer is going to talk about his experience, a freelance reporter during the mid-'90s. He was covering everything from the release of the special editions of the original trilogy to the premieres of the prequel movies. So he's got a lot of stories, including a run-in with Rick McCullum, which I'm really excited to hear about because it was a brief moment in time. But you know what? He met Rick. We didn't meet Rick. You probably didn't meet Rick, so that's one up he has on us. So before we get started today, I just want to say, guys, it's great to have the whole crew back. Jesse and I held the fort down last week, but David, you're back. How are you feeling?
Doing well.
Doing well. Got coffee today.
I did get coffee today. Last week I was off for a business trip, so back and, you know, snow up there, snow down here. It seems like it's going to be snowing forever and ever and ever, despite what the groundhog says.
And Jesse just read the Dooku comic that we're going to talk in a little bit, and he seems to be in a pretty good mood. So I think it's going to be a pretty positive review.
You'll be surprised on this
Oh, snap.
He finds a way to be unhappy about things.
No, you'll be surprised.
David, let's go ahead and dive in. Can you tell us, just for fun, what happened on this day in Star Wars history?
Delving back in history, 1998, Star Wars Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith was released. It's a comic. Another comic came out a year later. Darth Vader's Quest #1 was published. And in 2010, we had Knights of the Old Republic #50, which was Demon Part 4, and this was the conclusion of John Jackson Miller's run. So if you haven't read that comic, it's a great one. 2016, we lost a behind-the-scenes Star Wars hero. We lost
Ray West, right?
Yep, he passed away. He was a recording mixer on A New Hope back in the 70s. And then in 2016 also, we had an episode of Rebels air called Homecoming.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible... I love that we've started doing this at the top of every show to kind of give us perspective of where we've come from in the Star Wars line, because it's not just Disney Star Wars we're talking about. Obviously, when we're referencing 98, 99, we're talking about the franchise as a whole. And there's a couple of these events that stand out to me. Most notably, I want to go back to 2016 because Homecoming is that episode where we first meet Cham Syndulla.
Which is Hera's dad.
Hera's dad.
Okay.
But it's very inconsistent with the Cham Syndulla that we get in Lords of the Sith, which came out prior to this episode. There's actually a very loving relationship between Hera and her father. And in this episode, he's a very bitter, kind of a grumpus. And Jesse, I know you remember this episode fondly. But it's one of those episodes that does stand out because Cham, I should say, somewhat becomes a pivotal character as Rebels continues on.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I didn't feel like that story arc kind of fit. I did feel like that was the one time it was off.
When they were that wasn't the arc. That wasn't the arc though, where Mace Windu and everybody tries to free Ryloth. That was later on.
That was the last season of it, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
not the last season, but yeah, that was an arc later on. I get the two confused. I just think that everyone's gripe with that is the inconsistency there. We've had good luck on this day because last week we landed on the first appearance of Purgles, the space whales that we like to mock sometimes in Star Wars Rebels. So you missed out on that conversation, but that's all right. But on this day, so February 17th, a lot of goodies and a lot of good comic books. That Knights of the Old Republic run that you mentioned is really stellar stuff. You can always find those issues in the back bins. Let's go ahead and dive into the live chat real quick before we start with Real Talk here on this Sunday morning. We're joined with Celos189. He says, yo, 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 what up, peeps? We also have 90MF Comics here. He says he's happy to be here. We'll have more people jump in through. We have 6 people watching live right now. Appreciate everybody stopping by. If you haven't already, be sure you hit that thumbs up button. Smash that thumbs up button. I get tongue-tied sometimes. Got to subscribe if you haven't already.
Oh, and ring the bell.
And ring the bell. So that way when we go live on shows like this, or we drop new videos, you'll be the first one to know. Let's dive into it. Real Talk. But first, social media. Well, that's all right. We'll go ahead and go into Real Talk. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's no big deal. But right now, we're going to talk about Star Wars, where if you find it on the screen, whether that's a theater or it's your phone, we're talking about it right here. Guys, Episode 9, production finally wraps. We kind of thought it would happen at the end of February. What's our feelings right now? Like, are we excited that we're just one step closer?
I'm getting excited. This means we're going to start seeing more information, teasers, potentially a name drop sometime in the next few weeks. So I'm giddy. I'm excited.
Jesse, for a while, we've been talking about how we think that the title is now going to be kept under wraps until Star Wars Celebration, but if we're going off of what JJ did for Force Awakens, 3 days between the wrap of production and the title release. So, I mean, if we go by that math, we could have a title by the end of the day. We could have a title tomorrow. But if it doesn't happen in the next 24 hours, do you think it will be kept under wraps until Celebration?
I 100% think it'll be kept under wraps until Celebration. I actually still lean towards that. I think they're really trying to build the hype back up and everything, just considering that it's been kind of a roller coaster ride in the fandom in the last year.
And JJ is definitely helping build up that hype, because right now you're looking at an Instagram post on your screen. This is what we got from JJ. He took to his official Twitter account, basically just thanking the cast and the crew. So excited to bring the story to you. And
I just love that picture. I mean, you can just see there's so much love on that set.
There is. But what this symbolizes to me is this is the beginning of the end, guys. This is, from here on out, especially, it is the beginning of the end of the Skywalker saga. And we are, as David mentioned, we're going to get those promotional bits. We'll get the Variety Fair spread. We're going to get some information at Star Wars Celebration. You're going to start seeing this marketing campaign really kick into gear. Of course, things will help out after May, right? Because we got to get past Avengers Endgame. I still feel like that's going to be the priority for Disney.
Do you think we'll have a trailer for Endgame? I mean, it's going to be one of the most watched movies of the year.
Oh, do you think that they would attach it on the back end of that?
Or the front end of that. You know, as you're walking in, you sit down and...
It's a real possibility. They've done it differently every movie in the sequel trilogy. So they've done it differently every time. I think, though, I go back to what I said last week and the week before that and the week before that, is the fact that Disney and Lucasfilm do not need a certain date or a certain event to let the world know that there's a new Star Wars movie coming out.
They will be the news
once
they drop it.
No matter what. And so they could attach it to that Avengers Endgame. It would make sense that there are a lot of people there, but there were also 100 million plus eyes or whatever it was on the Super Bowl. So I think based on what I've seen and based on previous practices, we know, with the whole merchandise thing, not putting Star Wars on the end cap, making that for Infinity War when that movie came out last year. If they keep with the same practice, I think it's going to be a light until after the Endgame drop. But once Endgame drops in theaters and that buzz has died down after the first week and a half, it's from here on out, it's going to be Star Wars Episode 9. And I'm really excited to figure out what that is. I want to mention John Boyega also went to social media. This guy made off with this movie wrapping. Kathleen Kennedy gave him a replica blaster of his from Force Awakens.
Oh, that's awesome.
He also shares this photo that JJ showed of these guys hugging, and it's been a journey. And I also want to point out that I think there's a reason why JJ and crew have decided on this photo to share for the end of this principal photography wrapping up. Now, I do believe that there is still time. If they needed to, they could go back for reshoots. But from my understanding is they're done with production right now. They're going to go ahead to the edit bay and start putting this movie together. If it were to come out that there would be reshoots, we know by now that is not a bad sign. These large blockbusters schedule that in now. But I am really excited to get our first taste of the footage. But what do you guys think, though? I mean, I think that this image is supposed to tell us that this story, Episode 9, it's about the bond between these three pivotal characters in the sequel trilogy.
I'm looking at the background. It looks like kind of deserty.
Yeah.
And taking us right back where we started, maybe.
People want to say it's Jakku. I'm getting a lot of people saying Tatooine. Some people say it's a completely different planet. I don't know the value of going to Tatooine because it hasn't been a value unless Rey's going back to Obi-Wan's hut or hovel or whatever you call it, or maybe in the 30 years since Return of the Jedi, maybe there's like a tribute to the Skywalkers. I was listening to Skywalking Through the League is a podcast Bill Sheehy does. He's also going to be our fan commentary question for the day at the end of the show. And they were talking about that. Maybe that on Tatooine they've built like a tribute to the Skywalkers. And so that leads Rey and crew there. Maybe there's something left at like the Skywalker, the moisture farm there, the Lars homestead, or there's...
I don't know.
Seems like a stretch, though, right?
I don't think that the Skywalkers, that they were really that notable on Tatooine. They were just kind of moisture farmers on the Lars homestead. Really they caused more trouble than anything there, Luke.
Yeah, the Skywalkers really have plagued the galaxy for about 90 years. So they're probably not... They're actually probably not everyone's favorite people. We want to know what you think, though. What do you make of this photography wrapping up? Production has wrapped on Star Wars Episode 9. We know we get this movie December 20th, 2019. We're all going to be going there together. Do you think, because this announcement has come out within the last 48 hours of the time of doing this show live, will we get that title here in the next 24 hours to be in line with what JJ did with the title in Force Awakens? Or do you think that they're going to hold on to it until Star Wars Celebration? Let us know down in the comments below. I will tell you this. There is a rumor out there that J.J. Abrams is the only one that knows the title of this movie. That came out a week ago.
I can't believe that.
I can't buy that.
Bob Iger's got to know, and Kathleen Kennedy have to know.
I feel bad because I was really trying to spread, I really thought that Bob might drop that title on that call. I felt like there was a good, 65% chance. I was all in. I was ready to do it.
Now, you've heard a rumor of the title. Do you want to talk about that or keep that under wraps?
It's made a round. It's round, so I don't feel bad doing it.
Because I didn't like it.
But the rumor for the last year and a half has been Balance of the Force.
Yeah.
And I think if the fans had nailed the title, I think Lucasfilm and Disney would have just come out and here you go. What do you think, Jesse? Do you think that they hold on to it? I feel like if we've spoiled it, they might as well just release it.
If I recall, it's been commonplace to use a code name for the films in the past.
Like a Blue Harvest.
Blue Harvest is a good example for that. So I don't know. I saw it. I didn't buy stock into it. I'm like, no, because if this was true, then they'd just outright say yes, it's the title.
Jesse doesn't want the title to come out now because he wants it at Celebration because he's paid his hard-earned money for Celebration and so happy.
I've got a lot of money into Celebration right now,
and he wants to be in a room of 5,000 sweaty fans, and he wants the room to go dark.
That sounds disgusting.
And then just. And then this guy is
with a
jump,
surprise John Williams concert.
He's going to jump right out of his Mandalorian cosplay. And then he's going to be removed from the facility because he'll be naked. All right, so let us know what you think down in the comments below. We want to go on the next topic. We got to talk about this. The Mandalorian 2 has wrapped. Mandalorian Season 1 has wrapped. Jesse just sat up a little bit in his chair, so we know where we're going in this conversation. I'm really excited about this because it timed out so well with the wrapping of Episode 9. It seems almost too good to be true. We don't have an official statement. At least I haven't seen an official statement. But what we do have is an image from a cast member of a Mandalorian helmet that has been signed by cast and crew. Okay, so we feel like we can take this. Now, I feel like I need to say this, though, for the record, because we did not break this, obviously. The Unsung Movie Twitter account posted this image within the last 36 hours. That Facebook page, or that Twitter page, rather, no longer exists. So...
the whole page or just the post?
No, it's gone. The page is gone. You can't go visit the page. I wonder if they got in trouble.
Disintegrated. It's as if millions cried out in horror.
The mouse came knocking on their door with the bag to put over their head.
It sounds like it's really possible. So we have this image at least. And like I said, it's from the Unsung Movie, and it's spilled that the movies that the director Domino Fusca was involved with The Mandalorian in an unspecified capacity. And the original tweet was taken down, okay? But there was a screen grab, and that's obviously what we were able to show you on the screen. I'm really digging that helmet. Now, we don't know. This could be just a generic helmet. This could have no ties to a specific character. But it is exciting because this is supposed to be a flagship property for Disney Plus when it drops late this year. Jesse, what do you make? There has to be a reason. We should probably treat this as a leak, okay? But we have found out about the same time as Episode 9. How confident are you that we are getting footage, and why, at Star Wars Celebration?
Very confident. Just simply because this is slated to be, you've got the Triple Force Friday, which we'll talk about later.
Yep.
That's a part of this. So it would make sense to get some sort of teaser or some sort of panel relating to The Mandalorian.
And I do want to point out, they say it's Season 1 wrap. And we've talked about this before. With it being a limited series, that the definition of that phrase has changed in time. Limited series could be 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons. So my follow-up is, when and if we get a Season 2 confirmed, do you think it has to wait until after Disney Plus drops? We got to see sales numbers for the streaming service. We got to see download numbers. You want a Season 2.
I want to see, for me, I want a Season 2.
You want a Season 7.
Mainly because just everything that they have, they've announced so much for this series. It's insane. The all-star crew of directors and writers and everything working on it. It seems kind of silly not to have more than one season. And in my mind, the funny thing is, I actually saw this tweet before I heard about Episode 9 wrapping up, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. Like everything's kind of coming to a close and everything.
Closing time.
I tried to I was like, well, wait a minute. Why isn't this like the Mandalorian like helmet, like this new style helmet that we've seen? From
They don't want to
screenshot.
get away, probably, right?
So I'm kind of wondering like why are we using a traditional modern era Mando helmet? So I have my own little theories on that.
Is it not good enough for you, or what's your theory? I want to know your theory.
I'm sitting here going like, are we going to see like more Mandalorians? Like it's.
What do you mean, like more Mandalorians?
Kind of like what we did in Rebels, where we actually finally see, like Bo-Katan, like just a whole like clans.
Are you talking about in the show or
in the
promotion for the show?
Just in the show, like itself. I'm wondering if there's actually going to be, actual, like characters that are Mandalorian. So you're going to see a lot of.
So do you think we're going to see that as part of the promotion for this? That they're going to start showing us different styles of Mandalorian armor and
I don't know if we'll see
color
like that.
schemes and
because I don't think they want to take too much attention away from the main character and everything. But it would be nice to actually see the planet Mandalore on screen, like live action. So I have a lot of hopes for this show, obviously. So I could go on all day.
I think Sabine, like that uniqueness of her armor, I don't think we're going to see anything like that. But I would love if there were tribes of Mandalorians that were still alive in this time period, and you could see the difference in aesthetics. Because you've talked about that too, about how colors and images mean different things.
Again, you see that in Rebels. So if you haven't watched Rebels, it's a good. If you love Mandalorians, go watch Rebels. There's a lot of stuff going on for Mandalorians in the final season, especially. So
I think we're going to see a lot of promotion for this show.
Yep.
I mean, we've of course had Amazon and Hulu and Netflix for about 10 years now. But as these other companies, DC in particular is the one that pops to my mind, as I've watched how they've rolled out over the last 5 months. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned for Disney on how to generate some hype for a streaming service.
Okay. Yep.
And so I hope that they're taking note of some of the things that they've done well, that DC's done well, and some of the things that they most certainly have not done well. And so I think that if they really, really want to promote their Disney Plus, especially if they're trying to get people to sign up now, so it's live as soon as it goes live in October, I think they're going to have to push this out a lot to try to grab all that Star Wars fan base.
Because keep in mind, you and I know, we know that these properties are happening, these stories are going to be told because we're so invested into it. But the common fan might still not be aware that The Mandalorian is happening.
And you and I talked about this the other day with Frozen 2. You couldn't believe that so many people were shocked and surprised at a property that big, and there was such an excitement because people didn't know what was coming.
But we've technically known for months.
Right.
that's because they let the first one go.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, that being said, what's our next topic?
That was hysterical. Well, just keep in mind, because we are in the state where it seems like the Star Wars storytelling, the focus for Lucasfilm is going from the big screen to the TV screen. I want to echo David's point. Definitely, I think it's going to be a very intense promotion because they're going to have limited time. But just keep Star Wars Celebration every day. Star Wars will trend, without a doubt. Let us go to the next topic. Let us know what you think, though, about that Mandalorian news. If you're watching the live stream, make sure you comment there on the live stream. If you're watching on the rewind, make sure you're commenting down below in the comments. Game of Thrones co-creators Benioff and Weiss, they were reportedly offered 3 movies. So let's break this down, right? So Lucasfilm had previously confirmed that the Game of Thrones co-creators would be developing a series of films. Okay, a series of films. That's what we've been saying for months. And I speculated that I thought it was going to be more like 4 or 5 or 6.
See, for some reason, I had in my mind it was just going to be a trilogy.
And that's precedent, right? That's precedent because obviously we have the sequel trilogy. We have Rian Johnson getting offered a trilogy. I don't think you're going to get episodes 10, 11, 12. I don't think that will happen. I think we're done with episodic numbering after the conclusion of episode 9. But that would be precedent, and it does provide a nice structure for storytelling. Introduce your characters, give them a conflict. Second chapter, let's take them, rip them apart. And third part, let's bring them back together and go off into the future, the galaxy, the sunset, the twin suns, whatever. When I think about this news, though, that is being confirmed for the trilogy, I don't think I'm disappointed. I mean, I like the idea of them creating beyond a trilogy of films. I like the idea of 5 movies. I thought if they did Age of Republic, they could really bounce around the canon timeline to give us snapshots of a lot of different characters. Which could be really fun when you're bouncing in and out of the Sith Wars and
that
Sith
could
Empire.
still be on the table, David.
Totally possible.
It all depends on how popular these things are and how well they do. because we've had several different lineups for movies over the last couple of years since we started this podcast, talking with all these one-shots like a Boba Fett and an Obi-Wan, and they got scrapped in lieu of these Rian Johnson and Benioff and Weiss trilogies. So, I mean, they could get into this and say, it's a cash cow. We're going to go harder on this one and add more.
Is it better, though, that it's a trilogy, Jesse? Because now at least that we have confirmed this is the exact amount. We know that this stuff is in development. We know that Game of Thrones is dropping in April. Like, this kind of makes me more excited because now I have a more clear image of what we're getting.
Yeah, I'm excited about it because I'm like the biggest nerd you could possibly know, and it's not just Star Wars for me. It's The Lord of the Rings. It's Game of Thrones. You know, with Game of Thrones and everything, I read the books before the show and everything. So
Right.
when the show came around, you know, of course, I'm one of those most like diehard. Like, okay, I love this book. Season 1 was almost identical to how book 1, you know, plays out. A few changes, yes, you know, but this was a really good interpretation from book to film and everything. You know, obviously there's not really like a book that they're playing off of, but I have a lot of faith in their ability to bring this to life, to bring us something that we've never seen before in Star Wars. I personally kind of hope it's on the grittier side because that's always what's caught my. That's why I love bounty hunters. It's why I love Mandalorians. It's because there's just something,
It's like that Western.
Yeah, it's like a Western. You connect. I feel like more connected with those style characters sometimes more than I do with like Obi-Wan because, you know, Obi-Wan has the Force. He has a power that I'll never have. But I mean, like in the real world, we have bounty hunters. You know, like we have bondsmen kind of thing.
You know, Jesse really does fit the Western mentality. You know,
Yeah.
likes to carry a gun at his side, doesn't have that great of hygiene methods, and
So I'm going to have a contrary opinion to this one.
okay, do it. Bring
So I almost wonder if having 3 movies is a wasted talent for Benioff and Weiss.
it. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
And as we've seen small screen television shows get more and more in depth across all platforms and networks, I almost wonder if only getting 3 2-hour movies, 6 hours worth of content at a high production value would be better than a mid-range production value and getting 13 hours of a season with the potential for more seasons after that.
I think that's where I lean the most. I'm glad you brought that up because you think about they've done every season of Game of Thrones has topped itself in storytelling and production, and that's coming from a very lay fan of the franchise. I'm not as invested as Jesse or as others. To think you only get 3 movies, and I'm sure they're going to be rewatchable. And keep in mind, they're only writing them; they're not directing these movies. But you're absolutely right. That's probably why I wanted 5 or 6 because I wanted to spend more time. And they seem to have mastered this episodic storytelling, and that's what Star Wars was kind of built upon was this episodic storytelling.
Now, another thought, though, is this could be really good for them in diversifying their resume.
Okay.
That this could be a launching pad for them to be able to say, look what we've done on the small screen. Look what we've done on the big screen. Let us go do these projects going to be epic and massive and gritty.
In the Star Wars world, do you think?
Any world.
Any world.
I mean, we could see another Lord of the Rings that's gritty. We could see a Knights of the Old Republic type thing in Star Wars. We could see a grittier version of a Harry Potter. We could see, I mean, there's so many avenues, so many different fandoms that you could take and make a gritty story out of that maybe this is a jumping platform for even further great things for Benioff and Weiss.
I don't know why, but when you said a grittier version of Harry Potter, I automatically just took that to a whole, like, the Mountain as Hagrid. The Mountain is a very large character in Game of Thrones, very violent character. For some reason, that's where I went with it.
I don't know. I don't. If Harry Potter's been around long enough to be remade already, then I'm already
Look
too
how many
old.
times they've done Spider-Man.
Well,
Right.
but I think that's different. That character can go through so many different reincarnations. Daniel Radcliffe is Harry Potter. That's a different show, though. I want to know what you think, though, about all this that we're talking about with Benioff and Weiss, because I think that as far as like storytellers with the pen or with the keyboard, these guys are at the top of their game right now. And you're talking about the highest production budget so far for Game of Thrones. We know that we're throwing a lot of money here with The Mandalorian. We know that Disney and Lucasfilm is able to funnel quite the funds for a movie. So it's going to be exciting to see what they get as far as support and the story that they tell. Everyone seems to be leaning towards an Age of Republic, Knights of the Old Republic era story. So hoping that comes to fruition. Want to see a lot of lightsabers.
There's another franchise that Disney's announced with the Star Wars that we haven't gotten a whole lot of information about over the last year, and that's Rian Johnson's trilogy.
Yeah, good segue, because that's the last topic here in Real Talk here on episode 59. We are live and you're in this moment with us, and we're so excited about it. If you haven't already, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe, hit the bell. We had rumors come out yesterday about Rian Johnson, within the last couple of days, that Rian Johnson had lost his trilogy again. This rumor seems to circulate every 4 to 6 weeks.
We talked about this right before Thanksgiving.
It's kind of ridiculous. They're called Super Bro movies. They reported that Rian Johnson had his trilogy taken away, and it comes out on Twitter. We have the tweet. It says, no, it isn't true. I'm still working on the trilogy with all due respect. The movie bros, who I'm sure are lovely, kind bros with good fraternal intentions. So what it seems like, and I don't want to spend a whole lot on this element of it, but it seems like they might have jumped the gun here. Not sure if they were like reporting based on what their sources were telling them, and maybe their sources were wrong.
But I'm okay with that because now we have Rian Johnson himself saying that the movies are still on, which is the most we've heard in months.
Which is good. So it's like kind of a good way to become the news. But from a journalistic practice, it's not the best thing to sometimes do. But we are given the comfort that Rian Johnson is still doing the trilogy, and I say comfort specifically because, and I'll stand firm with this. I'm not a fan of The Last Jedi. It's not my favorite Star Wars movie. But I think if you allow Rian Johnson to do a standalone story, or you give him a trilogy with all new characters that don't have direct ties to the main line, I think it's going to be incredible. Because I liked what he did with, especially like the space stuff. I don't like the concept still of a ship not being able to catch up on this other ship. That still doesn't work. But the point is, like, he did some great things still with that movie. So let's play with characters that we have no attachment to, and I think it could be really successful. But David, when are we going to get details about this? Because Rian Johnson said he had to finish this last movie. He finished it. Do you think they walk him back out at Star Wars Celebration? Do you think that's a good move to bring him out at Star Wars Celebration? Or do you think Lucasfilm will be like, nah, you need to stay back for this one, Ryan. We'll bring you out later.
I think they're going to wait on it. I think that with Star Wars Celebration, they're really going to promote The Mandalorian and 9 and they're bringing back
Clone Wars
from overseas. I think that's where they're going to put their focus.
And hopefully some casting Endor, too.
Now, my question is going to be, which of the trilogies that they've announced is going to come first? Are we going to get the Benioff and Weiss, or are we going to get the Rian Johnson?
See, it's a toss-up, because we have not been confirmed anything for 2020, and we don't know of a project underway, so you might not have anything for 2021 either, unless they've got something in development that they've really been able to keep hush-hush, which I don't think that's the case.
So my thought would be is that we're not going to hear anything about either one of those trilogies until after our Triple Force Friday in October and the launch of Disney+, because then they'll have that marketing done and out of the way. They can focus on ramping up for 9 for the general population who aren't nerds like we are and get that word out. And that way they can focus on 9 and whatever comes next this winter, late autumn, early winter.
The focus has to be Episode 9. It has to be The Mandalorian because you have to pump the theatrical release, and you have to pump this Disney+. Because if it is not as... I don't want to say cheap, but if it's not as competitive in price as with like Netflix and Hulu and these other things, they're going to have to really rely on these properties to tell people, to get people to say, you know what, $12 a month, fine, whatever. I mean, they pretty much got my money as long as it's less than like 11 or 12.
Well, they haven't announced a price yet, have they?
No, they have not,
okay.
And they won't. I don't think until probably. I mean, I would think D23 is a good chance. It would make sense, right? When we're talking about only the Disney properties, I could see that happening. They've only said it's going to be competitive with like the Netflix, with the Hulu, with the HBO, with all this stuff. So again, we're at this point where you're getting so many options for streamable content. You're going to have to make some choices. And I mean, I got my PGA Tour that I'm going to get. I've got Netflix, and I want to add Star Wars. We'll see what happens. Jesse, what do you want to say to this?
It's baffling. Like like you said, Last Jedi is, it's not at the top of the list as far as your favorite Star Wars movie, and that's fine. But there, like you mentioned, there's a lot of actually great things that Rian did do. There is some actually really nice, I guess you'd say, camera shots.
Some of the cinematography is the best in the series.
Yes,
I mean, that scene with the Death Star, but destroying Snow ship, that was gorgeous.
For me, and I've mentioned this before, the two scenes that really stuck out to me was Luke kissing Leia's forehead before going out face the First Order and everything, and that was a powerful moment just in general because we had just lost Carrie,
right,
and everything. So it was like that. It wasn't a planned scene, and it just happened. And it's, to my mind, one of the most beautiful things I've seen in the last year in film. Very close to that is Luke staring off into the sunset and everything, and then, fading away, becoming one into the Force, which is very much an homage to him staring off into the sunset as a teenager. So Ryan does have the potential to tell, I think, a great Star Wars story. I mean, I'm kind of with you. I don't know if I think he should have had a little bit more guidance with The Last Jedi, but I don't hate the film. There's things I don't like. There's things I don't like with Phantom Menace, the prequels. There's things I don't like about the original trilogy.
It's all subjective, yeah.
Yeah, it's all you get that with every film, So it's actually very irritating that people are like, it's like, okay, like he probably knows by now that you don't, there's a large amount of the fan base that doesn't like him. But like, come on,
I don't think it bothers him though.
But it's like, grow up though. Leave the man be. Let him do his job.
Absolutely, yeah.
No
one should be rooting against Rian Johnson if he's at the helm of a trilogy. You should want him to do well.
I want to see him succeed.
You want good Star Wars stories. You want lightsabers. You want spaceships. You want good adventure.
So what I'd hope is hopefully as a professional, it's no different with my cosplay. Somebody says, I don't really like this on your kit. I'm going to examine that and look at it. And I'd hope in the future, I'm sure he's heard a lot of the constructive feedback, that's out there about The Last Jedi, and I hope that he would apply that knowledge to these films that he's working on, and maybe not try to, there were some mistakes, so hopefully he won't repeat those mistakes. With these movies, I want him to succeed in this, and at this point, it's like I'm just tired of a salty fan base.
Yeah,
be happy about Star Wars, because I mean, like,
you're getting really mad about happiness.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like one of those things where it's like,
will you please be happy?
We're gonna touch on this coming up. You
sound like Betty.
Yeah, sounds like my
we
mother.
didn't have to wait 20 years between films, like
some
the older fan base, which
that was done very tactfully, Jesse. Well done. The more mature fan. There was some time between 83 and 99. We all get that.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see. I think it's going to be a Vice Admiral Holdo trilogy. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I think it's
that could be fun though.
Laura Dern.
It could be. Look, it would be fun to have that name involved again. I think that character really needs to get fleshed out because the character that is in Leia, Princess of Alderaan by Claudia Gray, is a fantastic character. And I just don't think that character was executed in that movie. And I don't think, there's a few reasons. But hey, the point is, you're getting more Star Wars. We're getting more Star Wars. We're going to talk about it. We hope you join us in the conversation. We want to know what you think about that down in the comments below if you're watching on the rewind or if you're watching live. Comment in the live chat. Here's what's going to happen next. We're really excited about this. We have Pete Fletzer on the line. He's going to be joining us in about 20 seconds, okay?
I'm stoked. I'm excited.
This is going to be really fun. Pete is a freelance writer, covered Star Wars in the mid-'90s, and also covered the prequel premieres. And so he got to go to Skywalker Ranch, and he got to talk to some pretty cool people. And so we're going to talk about his journey during the mid-'90s, and we're going to find out about his take on the current galaxy of Star Wars movies. And then he might be breaking some news. He might be doing something like a new project or something. He might be telling us all about it. We're going to dive into that next here on Beyond the Blast Doors, episode 59. You're watching live.
All wings report in. Brand new Beyond the Blast Door collector pins are now in stock. Help spread the word about the Beyond the Blast Door Star Wars conversation by picking up a brand new exclusive show pin. Pins are only $8. Order and pay online at BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. Movies, TV, comics, toys, cosplay. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars conversation.
And we're back. Episode 59, we're live. That was like 20 seconds. That was really quick. And you got to hear Jesse talking to David on the mic check. That's okay. We potted microphones up, and we're live. That's how this thing works.
This is my first interview on the show. And
I know.
I'm trying to figure out how we're, I'm trying to get, semantics.
Trying to do it flawlessly,
Listen,
and here
I'm
you are
very
sabotaging
excited to talk to Pete.
You should not be missing episodes. This is what happens. Your absence, it's futile. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this. We're really excited about this. You see this image. We're going to keep that. Let's bring that image back up. We want to keep that because we want to tell you about Pete. Pete is a freelance writer who's best known for his work in the mid-'90s for Lucasfilm and Top Star Wars Galaxy and Star Wars Insider magazines. I have a lot of those Insider magazines. He's covered major events like the special editions, the 3 prequel premieres. He's also the author of almost 200 Star Wars questions for the amazing science fiction and horror trivia game. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show for the very first time on Beyond the Blast Doors. We have Mr. Pete Fletzer. Pete, how are we doing, sir?
I I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing pretty well. Isn't that cool to hear someone?
I'm super stoked.
Pete, can you tell us where are you coming from? Where are you broadcasting from?
I live in the beautiful suburbs of New Jersey.
Oh my gosh! So how's the
New York.
Beautiful and New Jersey are two words I don't hear in the same sentence very often.
We just don't get enough credit for the nice parts of Jersey. Everybody thinks Sopranos, but there's actual deer in my front yard and things here. So
We are on standby right now. We're trying to pull up Pete and Jordan. Is it selected to the right monitor? That could be the difference. So Pete on standby. We're going to bring him on originally, but first we just kind of want to start. First things first, Pete. How's your day going? I mean, are you even excited to be on this show?
On this show, absolutely. This has been. Why wouldn't I want to be on this show?
That's a good answer. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I was trying to stall for to bring you up, but let's just go ahead and dive into the first question. And let's start with this. You started in the mid-'90s. You're covering the special editions of the original trilogy. But how do you get so lucky in the first place? Like, how do you become a freelance reporter, and how do you get to cover Star Wars for a living? Because I think there's like millions of people in the country alone that want that luck.
Well, first let me just be clear. It was not much of a living. It was like 25 cents of a word. So, and I was also a lot younger. So I didn't have kids to feed. But I was making Star Wars news on the web before Google existed. I was working with. I had created my own website. If you guys were talking a little bit before, and I thought it was very tactful to say the more mature Star Wars fans. I was 1977. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, you're great.
Can he hear us?
Yep, you're good.
You still there?
Yep, we're still there.
Okay, great. Yeah, my computer just literally crashed in the physical sense, not technical sense.
He just dropped his computer.
It doesn't happen that often. But anyway, so I had been a big giant Star Wars fan as a child, and what a lot of people often forget was there was that lack of Star Wars content for so many years after Return of the Jedi, so I was a big fan, and this amazing science fiction horror trivia game was actually a game that my father had started with a bunch of his friends just at the time that board games were starting to go. It's essentially, and he would probably not like to hear me describe it this way, but it was a science fiction horror Trivial Pursuit kind of a game, and he needed somebody to write Star Wars questions, and so he knew nobody else who had seen the Star Wars trilogy as often as I had. And keep in mind, back then there were only 3 movies and a bunch of extended universe books, and quite honestly, I was never really a huge fan of the books. I read the Thrawn trilogy, and I liked that, but that was about all that we had at that time. So in the mid-'90s, I started building a website called Echo Base, and if you can imagine a time when there was almost no Star Wars content online, I was doing my best to sort of fill that gap. At the same time, we had Steve Sansweet, who at Lucasfilm was going around and doing he was doing some presentations at science fiction conventions because the special edition was on its way. They were bringing it to life, and they were bringing it back. And Steve was out there doing these conversations, and people were reaching out to my website because it was the only one that existed at the time, or one of the only ones, and they believed for whatever reason that I was associated with Lucasfilm. And so I reached out to Lucasfilm, and they put me in touch directly with Steve Sansweet, and he gave me his list of where he was going to be presenting, and I posted on the site, and I began having a conversation with him because I always sort of fancied myself a writer. I gave him some content, and he read it, and next thing you know, he had me helping him out on some content for Star Wars Galaxy magazine.
Wow, that's amazing. And it all started because you started writing trivia questions for a buddy for a game.
That's right. So don't let anybody tell you that having an extensive knowledge of Star Wars doesn't get you something sometimes.
There's hope for me yet, David.
Yeah. So the first thing I covered was there was an IMAX film called Special Effects.
Mm-hmm.
And that
I remember that.
It was a film that was directed by and created by Ben Burtt, And there's a whole other story for another time about how I ended up going. I was getting to that premiere. I had tickets to that premiere. It was actually through this website that I had created. And so I covered this special effects premiere. And that was the first story that I wrote for Star Wars Galaxy magazine. It was a little 150-word little column. And next thing you know, I'm doing double-page spreads, and by the time I was done with my little gig with Star Wars Galaxy, I was managing editor of some of the toys and collectible sections.
Oh, that's amazing. I remember that. I remember going on a school field trip to the Science Center in St. Louis and watching it on the big domed screen and seeing C-3PO and R2-D2 who were kind of narrating through that. That was cool. So,
the reshot of the opening sequence of the Star Destroyer and Leia's ship was sort of the highlight, and that's how they kind of drew the Star Wars fans into the event.
Let's talk about Phantom Menace in the sense that that I was like 9 when that movie. I was 8 when that movie came out. The Phantom Menace.
You're a child.
I know. I'm really showing my age here. But like Pete, if you can indulge me, like Star Wars fans hadn't gotten a movie since '83.
Right.
We're getting a lot of expanded universe that's blowing up. Now there's like realms of canon, like what George approves of, what he kind of approves of, what he doesn't approve of.
Right.
You have everyone kind of doing their own thing, and now here we are. Here's a young Anakin Skywalker. We're seeing pod racers, a young Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're seeing a not the best looking puppet Yoda. Can you talk to me about what's the atmosphere like when you're in the heap of that, where you're kind of putting these special editions behind you, and now we're approaching this prequel trilogy that maybe a lot of fans didn't think was going to happen?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it excitement?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is there excitement? Is there anticipation? Is there like caution?
Is there nervousness that they're going to screw up the Star Wars?
Well, it's really interesting because at the time, you were 9 years old, and you just made me feel incredibly old. Thank you very much. But
wasn't my goal.
Me too, Pete. Me too.
So what was great was, since there was, we didn't yet have this sort of pissy fan base that's really trying to find problems with everything that comes out, and that's really frustrating. And I'm sort of taking it's a personal crusade of mine is to remind people how great a time it is to be a Star Wars fan. I mean, I'm envious of my 6-year-old son who doesn't know what it's like not to have something new coming out in Star Wars. So there wasn't fear that it was going to be screwed up. In fact, if anything, there was just so much anticipation and excitement for anything Star Wars to be coming out. And, through my website at the time, we all had sort of our ideas. I had this sort of theory that Obi-Wan Kenobi was Obi-Wan and he was a clone, and all kinds of fun stuff that never, of course, materialized. And, we were also doing the who would you cast kind of game as well.
Oh, fantastic.
But what was quite interesting to me about the entire situation was just how, because there was such anticipation, I was very fortunate, and I'll share a little story here. I was very fortunate to be at the New York City premiere of Episode 1, and it took place about 2 weeks before the film came out, and it was a charity event. So it was a celebrity roll call of anybody who was a celebrity that was in New York City. It was like Kevin Spacey and pre-President Donald Trump and Glenn Close and celebrities galore. And there was this real excitement even from movie stars to go and see this film. The theater was literally abuzz. There was so much excitement. And as the opening crawl came, and it was essentially sort of trying to explain some sort of history lesson about taxation routes. There was a little bit of, you could literally feel a little bit of the excitement go, okay, what's happening here?
Star Wars,
and then, of
taxation.
course, you had the Nemoidian accents, which, it politically incorrectly, it just didn't feel right. And I remember literally feeling like, wait a minute, is this some sort of a joke? Is the real movie going to start in a minute? And then the foppishness of Jar Jar Binks, and by the time the movie ended, you could feel the energy in this gigantic, beautiful Ziegfeld Theater in New York City. It had evaporated.
No.
And my favorite part of that day, and the main memory I have, is walking out of the theater, and again, it was Celebrity Central. I had never been to a movie premiere, so I didn't know what to wear. I'm wearing a suit, to this afternoon event, and as I'm walking out of the theater, I see Christian Slater, who was one of my favorite actors at the time, and he's right behind me. Like, he's walking out of the theater right behind me. And so I'm like, when am I going to get to talk to Christian Slater again? So I turn to him and I say, Christian, what did you think of the movie? And he's looking at me like, do I know this guy? Should I know this guy?
How dare you talk to me?
The Christian Slater eyebrows. And he just looks at me and he says, visually stunning. And that was it. That was his entire review of the film. And you know what? That was probably the smartest and best answer to give, because he didn't want to be quoted perhaps as saying this was great or this was bad, or, there's a chance maybe he was going to be older Anakin. Who knew? Right? So it was just really interesting to feel that sort of lack of, it was disappointment, but nobody really wanted to admit to the disappointment. And in fact, if you go back and you read some of the reviews and you look back, it wasn't as panned as it became. And then, as I think you guys talked about it last week, some of the things that Ewan McGregor's been saying, how this fan base is kind of coming back to the prequels and Episode 1 and looking at it differently, and it's really playing a different role, if you will, in the Star Wars universe.
Gannon136 is in the chat. Good friend of the show, Patrick Hovey. He is back. He was on the show last week, and you might remember. And he says, George Lucas, but you remembered my movie. Do you guys have any follow-up on that, or do you want to go ahead? Because we have a great... it's not a George Lucas story as much as it's a Rick McCallum story. Do you have something, Jesse?
Yeah, Pete, like so you left this premiere and everything. I mean, like, so you described that, like the energy level went from like a 10 to like a 2 kind of thing by the end of it. I mean, how did you feel? Like, did you hate it? Were you in between? Like, were you like in the gray? Or
keep in mind,
that's a really great question. That's a great question, because I am an unashamed Star Wars fan. Like, and this is why I get frustrated with some of the fan base today. I walked out of it talking myself into loving it. And I remember when it actually came and hit theaters 2 weeks later, I went with some of my friends, and they were like, so what did you think of it? Don't tell me anything about it, but what did you think of it? And I remember my mind went to the pod race, and I kept going back to the pod race as the thing that I felt made the movie. And so it's funny, I continue to sort of put The Phantom Menace at the bottom of my list of favorite Star Wars films. But, I think just like even, you can go to The Last Jedi, and people weren't sure what to think of it. I mean, I walked out of The Last Jedi, and my first comment to the friend I went to the film with was that was both the best Star Wars movie ever made and the worst. And I think, the same thing with Phantom Menace was, I want to love this movie. I think I love this movie. And also keep in mind, this was before there wasn't a lot of things that I could go online and have conversations with people about. So it was all happening in my own sort of talking myself into it and out of it at the same time. But my initial response was, I think that was good, which is, by the way, not a great response to a film.
Good.
I find it interesting, because, I mean, like, Pete's at this premiere and everything. I think I was roughly maybe 6th or 7th grade when this movie released. And
Twist the dagger.
It's like... still being a kid and everything. I mean, like, you mentioned the pod race, and I remember leaving the film and, like, I mean, like, I remember being excited about the movie. Like, I enjoyed the movie as a kid, and it wasn't only until I got older, and I guess you could say you start analyzing and viewing things more, where you go, well, maybe I didn't like that so much.
Well, I think too, though, the fact that, keep in mind, and it's what Pete just brought up too, is the actors and actresses are starting to notice too that the fans are getting older now.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was a trilogy that we got to grow up with. So we're going to have a different sentiment with that. Just like the fans that grew up with the original trilogy, like, that is their Star Wars. And so that's why, like, in 99, 2002, 2005, you got this, like, prequel hate from the OG fans. Well, now fast forward to 2015, and here we are with The Last Jedi, and now we're getting Episode 9 here. I mean, like, the same thing's happening, but now you have all these prequel lovers. Like, it's just going to repeat itself, and that's because these movies are going to speak to each other. Like, the movies will speak to the individual differently. you know.
And it's interesting where people jump in at it as well. Like, for example, my son, his reference for Star Wars is, he's 6, and Star Wars to him is Clone Wars.
Yes.
He loves, he's got all the little Clone Wars action figures. That's his Star Wars. And, which, that's a cool entry point. So,
yeah. Hey, Pete, let's go ahead and, can you tell that story, though? You've never met George Lucas, but you've met Rick McCallum, who's kind of the producer of the prequels. Yeah,
so it was great. One day, it's funny, I don't often think about it until I get the chance to speak to people like you, David, over the web and start to think about it. But I was pretty lucky. I got to do some cool stuff. So I became somewhat friendly with Steve Sansweet, and I was out in San Francisco for a trip. And I just reached out to him and I said, hey, I'd love to get together since I'm going to be there. And he said, would you like to come to the ranch? And did he even think there was a chance I would say no to that? So I rented a car, drove up from San Francisco, went to the ranch. He let me in. First of all, it's very hard to find. It's well hidden. And I got there and he gave me the tour. He said, would you like the tour of the ranch? And I was like, absolutely. And so Steve and I are walking through. We ended up, I think we had lunch with Don Bees, who was the gentleman who was the operator for R2-D2, and my geek level actually knew his name and who he was. So that was exciting for me. But we were walking through the sort of the main foyer area of the main house of the ranch, and Steve and I were walking. He's pointing at this and he's pointing at that. Now, it's important to know, one of the things that surprised me the most about the ranch was that at the time, and I haven't been there since this time, about 20 years ago, it's not chock full of Star Wars memorabilia, at least at the time, like you would have thought. There was literally one little hallway where there were 2 glass cases of actual props and things from the films. So we walk through there, and we hear this voice coming from the stairs up above us. And he says, hey, Steve, I need to talk to you for a second. And I turn around, and it's Rick McCallum, and he's there, and it's the guy. And again, it's fan shock and awe. And the best part about the story to me is that Rick said to me, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So Rick McCallum was worried that I was going to be offended that he was taking Steve away from me for just a couple minutes. So I was like, oh, no, that's fine. Feel free. And introduced myself. And he was just such a nice, sweet guy. You could tell he was very busy. From what I understand, I don't know if this is true, that he'd come out of a meeting with George upstairs. But he was just such a nice guy. And, the personality you see as you look at the making of documentaries and you see him on video, that's exactly what he is. Larger than life. He dropped a couple F-bombs while he was talking to Steve, and he's just that guy. And it was just a great opportunity to be there.
You've seen the documentaries. He has so much passion for the franchise, which was another reason why I enjoyed the prequels so much, because it was a labor of love for all these people. It was you're going back to this galaxy, but now you have the benefit of 10, 15 years of growth in technology. Like, you're able to do more. George always says, I get to do more than, this is how I wanted to do the original trilogy. And obviously that's why we went back and got the special editions. But I just love that you had that story, because to me, he is maybe the most interesting person behind the scenes, just because of the conversations that Rick probably was part of. Like, that had to be, like, I think of that clip. There's that clip that leaked on the internet where it was like the first showing of the Phantom Menace, and you see George just throw his head back because he's like, we rushed it in a few places. Like, I just wonder, like, what are the conversations with him and Rick to, like, damage control, if they felt that way? Like, I think it's interesting that Pete thinks that the Phantom Menace is where he ranks on the bottom of his favorite Star Wars movies list, because I think it's Attack of the Clones. Which again goes to like how we interpret movies differently and why we like things differently one way or the other. But if you guys don't have a follow-up, I think I want a direct answer from Pete on the sequel trilogy. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Pete, we're putting you on the spot.
Yep.
You've been up close and intimate with these prequel movies. You've gotten to know them fairly well. Mm-hmm. But now you get to share these with share the new movies here with your kiddo. What's your take on the sequel trilogy in comparison to the prequels that you got to experience that front row seat at?
So it's again, I'm an unapologetic fanboy, and I love everything that comes out generally. I think I'm of the mind. I actually put, first of all, I put The Last Jedi among my top 5 films. So I know I'm on the other side with many people, but I love the sequel trilogies. I love a trilogy. I love where they're going with it. I think The Force Awakens did its job in a way that I don't think a lot of people give it enough credit for. Now, I know a lot of people like The Force Awakens. I think it's fantastic, and I look at it as a reboot. A lot of people call it a redo, you know, sort of a direct lift of A New Hope. But it's a reboot in the truest sense of the word, in that they gave you, when JJ rebooted Star Trek, he gave you a story you knew with characters you knew. In this case, they gave you a story you knew you could get comfortable with, you could jump right back in with, but changed it just enough, followed a lot of the same beats, and kind of pulled the story through new characters. But I'm excited for Episode 9. I liked The Last Jedi a lot. Like I said, my feeling is there are things about it that are the best Star Wars we'll probably ever see, and I think there's pieces of it that were not necessary and not great. But I think it's great. I'm so excited for The Mandalorian. I'll be honest, the Cassian series, I'm kind of looking forward to. The excitement level isn't there yet for me.
Oh, we didn't talk about that at all
and it's
today.
probably only because we know how his story ends. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, and probably a whole other conversation. But no, I'm loving the new Star Wars that's coming out. I am really excited about everything we've seen so far.
So Pete, I have two questions for you.
Sure.
Force Awakens, the infamous Han Solo dying scene. I mean, did that? How
Wait, he dies?
Do you know something I don't know?
Spoiler alert.
I mean, like when you saw it, did you, were you just in shock? Were you angry, or did you actually feel like that was a fitting in for Han?
I felt like it was a fitting end, and I'm actually glad that Harrison Ford put a full performance in on that, because if you go back and you watch Return of the Jedi, you could tell he was kind of fulfilling this contractual obligation at times. I felt like he was Han Solo in this film. I loved it. And so was I shocked? I wasn't shocked. What shocked me the most was the way sort of Snoke kind of offhandedly says, "Oh, by the way, Han Solo is your father." Like, that was a little bit that was the only bizarre thing about that relationship to me. But I wasn't disappointed. I do have to say, though, I think the one thing in the 4 movies we've gotten since Disney, there's been one thing that literally made me gasp out loud. And I think the phrase I said was, "Wow, that's really cool," was when Maul showed up in Solo. I thought that was brilliant. I loved it. But I also knew there's probably fans sitting around me going, how's he here, and when does this movie take place? And I think that's the biggest challenge for Disney right now. And I know that wasn't your question, but I think one of the biggest challenges for Disney right now is connecting all the dots for people who aren't sure. Does this take place after? Is Jyn Erso her mother? Is her daughter? Like I think there's a lot of things moving. That's going to be a challenge for Disney and Lucasfilm to keep their audience, their broad audience, their movie-going audience engaged.
See, but I love that you bring that up real quick, Pete, because like you mentioned, your son's entry to Star Wars is the Clone Wars. If you watch the Clone Wars, you know that Darth Maul is alive for a period of time. That payoff is made up in Solo because you see him there, and you're like, my goodness, like, when we talk about connectivity between the movies and wanting the canon to influence each other, and when you get Kylo Ren referencing the clones in The Force Awakens, like, this stuff pays off when you're following the saga like this. So like, super rewarding. So I just wanted to make that point. And Jesse, you had a follow-up question, real quick.
Yeah, the follow-up question was what was your absolute favorite scene in The Last Jedi? Something that you absolutely loved.
Please don't say Leia force floating.
Leia Mary Poppins?
I would actually put that on. You remember I said there were some things that didn't work for me? I think my absolute favorite part of the Last Jedi was the fight in the throne room. I think that's probably one of the best. That and the Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn are the top lightsaber battles in all 10 films.
Excellent.
I think you're forgetting about Yoda and Count Dooku. I mean, for me, that was
I'm doing my best to forget about Yoda and Count Dooku.
Well, hey Pete, there's several reasons why we wanted to bring you on the show. Not just because of your up close relationship with Star Wars, but also that you have a new project underway that we're having a lot of folks in live chat asking about. They're asking, what is Pete doing now? So, Pete, you're kind of breaking this news on our show. Can you tell us what are you doing with Star Wars? You have a new piece in the workings.
Yeah, so it's important to note that I haven't done any work directly for Lucasfilm or Topps in 18 years or so, and so I wanted to reconnect myself. In going through some of my older works, I found that there was actually a story that I had started writing for the West End Games book, and it reminded me that I do like to write fiction. But I always had thought that with The Phantom Menace, I always looked at it as if it was a movie version of a book that I loved that didn't quite follow through, that didn't quite, turn out the way I felt the movie version of a favorite book might be. So what I've decided to do is, apparently I have nothing else to do with my time but to spend it writing a what I'm calling a novelization of the film, The Phantom Menace, but written as if the movie didn't exist yet. So I'm writing it as though it's the story that The Phantom Menace comes from. Again, pure fan fiction, no compensation, no selling. I will make it available to the world for absolutely just download it as soon as I have it available. But I'm writing it in a way so that it reads more like a political intrigue thriller than a science fiction action film, which I think was the big problem. And the thing that I want to do with this story is take what's a great story, and I think there really is a great story in The Phantom Menace, but I feel like they had to leave a lot of the pieces out of it because it was a 2-hour sci-fi adventure. Mm-hmm. And so I'm approaching it by expanding on some characters, bringing in some of the things that we know happens in Attack of the Clones, and all the way up, actually, through some references, through all as much of the Star Wars on-screen pieces we've seen. I do make some references to it. And it's really a pure labor of love, and it's a hobby, and I want to share it with everybody. It'll be this it'll be a novelization, like I said, written as if it came before the movie.
I've been able to read a little bit of it so far. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I like how you're approaching it. The first couple of chapters, it seems like it's the first 3 or 4 years before the movie takes place, and I like how you did that because I will say that I'm more invested in Anakin now, having read those first 2 chapters, because you go right into. Can I just give away the first paragraph of it?
Sure.
He starts his story, guys, like the day after Anakin's been sold to Watto, and so you're dealing with this like 6-year-old boy who is he's waking up in this new environment. He has this new guy telling him what to bark orders. He wants to see his mom. Can't see his mom because his mom's already working right now. And it becomes a more human story than I think at times we did get with The Phantom Menace. So I'm really excited about this. David, did you have something you wanted to jump on there?
No, but I'm excited for that.
We should all be really excited about it, and I'm very appreciative to Pete for sharing this. Can you break down, Pete, how you're going to unveil this story? Are you going to go chapter by chapter, or are you just going to release it all at once? Because the plan is that we're going to have Pete back on next month and the month after that, and maybe the month after that, breaking down the story, but we don't want to rush you because you're an artist, and the creative process has to flow freely.
Yeah, so what's interesting is, I've been a freelance journalist. I was writing 2 full pages for a fan magazine, and one of the things that I found is I'm about 106,000 words into the story, and I've just gotten the guys back to Naboo. So what the challenge with writing something like this is you get to a point and you're like, oh, I really need to make sure that I reference that earlier in the story. So what I imagine I'll probably do is, so you're referencing the way I'm going about the story is the first 4 chapters introduce the major characters a couple of years before the events of the Phantom Menace. So we'll read a little bit of Anakin's story. We'll meet Queen Amidala on her first day in office. We'll get a little bit of a story of about a mission that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan go on. And then we also have an early Darth Maul, Darth Sidious engagement. So that should be kind of cool. And then the story picks up before the opening crawl. So I think I'm about 100 or so pages before you actually get to that cruiser approaching Naboo with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in it. So the way I'd like to release it is I've broken it up into 3 acts, 3 books, 3 pieces. So I'll probably release that prologue. And then maybe part 1, I'll probably do piece by piece. So hopefully, if we're looking at doing this every month, maybe I can actually release some of it over the next couple of days and let you guys know about it, and we can talk about it then.
Anything else before we let Pete go?
I'm just kind of curious. Did you see the fan film that Star Wars Theory?
Oh yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because he really kind of inspired me to continue to do this, right? I mean, when you're writing something so closely related to the films, in my case, literally creating a certain point of view on the Phantom Menace, to see somebody else putting so much passion into it, he absolutely inspired me to keep going.
I mean, I get that there was a little bit of concern there because he produced that, and he wasn't monetizing on it, but there was a little bit of drama, with that following up, like copyright claims and all that. And is that something that you worry about working on this?
Yeah, I do. I'm prepared to get an email one day once this goes out from somebody saying you really can't do that. But I think the difference is there's absolutely zero. There's no. I'm not spending any money on it, and I'm not using it to try to even. There won't be any ads on my site or anything like that. So there's zero connection to dollars. It is pure fan fiction and sort of a love letter to a story that and a universe that I absolutely love. I'm
just overly thrilled, like reading, when David's like, "Hey, we're having Pete on here," and then I saw that this question and everything. Like, I had no idea you were like obviously working on this kind of project. I like to write a little bit. I'm obviously probably not anywhere close as good as you are.
Way to be humble, Jesse.
Yeah, but it's kind of encouraging for me because it's something that I'm interested in doing too. And I'm a very avid reader on everything. So I definitely look forward to reading. What you're putting out there and everything, because it's questions like that you're attempting to give an idea or answer for the fan base in that timeline, and that's excellent.
So Pete,
it's pure fan fiction and speculation, and to be honest, I never read the Terry Brooks novelization, so I hope there's nothing in there that I mirrored other than the Phantom Menace movie. But it's kind of a fun way to go about it, and it's sort of I'll admit, and maybe it's just me, but I watched the Phantom Menace a couple days ago with my son, and the movie felt a little different to me, probably because of the backstory that I put into it myself.
So Pete, you're doing this of a labor of love. It'll be free. Are there ways that our listeners can go support you in other fashions? Put a little money in your pocket for all the other things that you do.
To be honest, absolutely not. No, this is
I tried, Pete. I tried for you.
I know. I do appreciate that. When I think of something though for next month, I'll find a way to have you guys help me with some of my other projects. No, but my Star Wars writing days for 25 cents a word are over. This is all pure love, and for the opportunity to talk to guys like you and keep having conversations and keeping the love of Star Wars alive. And it's still amazing that we do have people who are so unsatisfied with what's there right now. So I want to keep everybody positive and just keep loving the story that we all love.
Well, Pete, so glad that you could join us today. And, of course, if people want to follow you, you do have the occasional blog posts being shared at www.petefletzer.com. You can go ahead and check his work out there. Of course, I would imagine that's where you're going to put the finished product when it does drop.
That's where it'll be, yeah.
And, Pete, just want to say thank you because, we talk about on the show how, we talk the movies, the TV, the toys, the cosplay, comics, everything. We just want to have a complete Star Wars conversation. We want people to feel that they can have their opinion, whether it's pro or con, but as long as everyone's respectful. We want to keep it cool, but we want to have this really inclusive, fun, intense conversation. And you being a part of the show today has, I think, amplified that tenfold. And I just want to say thank you, and I think we're all very thankful that you're with us. And we just hope that we can bring you back on in March. Still trying to get the date pegged, but I would love to talk about at least the first 4 chapters, if we could.
Sure.
And
maybe I'll tell you what. I'll have that up online this week. You can remind some people to download it next week, and we'll talk about it next month.
All right, sounds good. Everybody, Pete Fletzer, thank you for being on the show, good sir.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.
That was Pete Fletzer, a freelance writer from the mid-'90s, covering all the great things from the special editions to the prequel movie premieres. David, how are you feeling right now?
That was really cool.
Wasn't that great? Mm-hmm. That was fun. I also want to give a shout-out to Jordan because he was able to fix our audio issue. We were having video issues on, we think, Pete's end, but I thought that Jordan was able to make that interview happen on the fly so well, and we were able to have this incredible Star Wars conversation.
Good job, Jordan.
So, Jordan, we love you and appreciate you. I don't think he likes it when I mention him. I think the rule is I'm not supposed to mention Jordan, but I feel like I should. So that's great. We'll have that interview slice and dice on its own tomorrow morning if you want to share that around. And, there's some great – I love – just going in the live comments real quick, there are some folks that are really excited. It seems like Gannon is really excited to take a look at what this story is about. We have Girls with Sabers with us, JD Comics, not part of your scene. So really great to see all these people talking. Let's go ahead, though, because now we got to kind of go light speed here through a couple other fun topics in the show, because Pages, Pixels, and Pieces is next here on Beyond the Blast Doors, live episode 59. Look at Jesse and how happy he is. This man is overjoyed right now. We had a good time.
I'm really loving the interviews. We had Patrick last week, and Pete was just phenomenal today. It's a really fun aspect to bring to the show because these are people on the other side of the country.
Yeah,
that I've never would have met, unless being on the show and everything. So it's just phenomenal hearing their perspectives.
Yeah,
on the films and the lore and everything.
See, normally I look forward to Pages, Pixels, and Pieces, but after talking with Pete, I'm just like, okay, that's
fair enough. Well,
Count Dooku toys and stuff. Let's nice show, guys.
I want to be sure that we shout out our sponsors while we have the slate up still. The segment brought to you by the Fantasy Shop in Maplewood, Missouri. Proud to have our local comic book shop as our official sponsor. Comics, collectibles, toys, Magic the Gathering, and board games. The Fantasy Shop in St. Louis. Proudly serving St. Louis since 1981. And this show for the better part of a year. They also provided us that sweet giveaway that we just shipped off for our 800 subscriber contest that we had last week. Again, congrats and thanks to everyone that was participating in that contest. 5 stellar comic books, Legos. It was awesome. What?
Now, David, I know you do Beyond the Panel every Thursday.
Yes.
So we can go in a deeper dive between all our comics. Mm-hmm. But can we start the segment by talking about Dooku?
We are. We're actually going to go ahead and start throwing that video. I want to remind you, great shout out. Beyond the Panel, number 6, is actually going to be tomorrow. It's either going to drop tomorrow or Tuesday. It did not happen this past Thursday because of a scheduling conflict. Remember, this is a hobby for us, and we pour a lot of time and energy into this, but the day job had to come first. So Beyond the Panel, I'm going to try for tomorrow, but it's probably going to be Tuesday. I'll keep everybody updated on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram for sure. That said, let's go into Dooku, because there's 2 comics. There was this, and there was a solo book, Imperial Cadet. I just want to talk about Dooku here because in this single shot that we get by Jodie Hauser, what I love about this is Dooku reveals himself to be a Sith. What we believe is the first Jedi, who is Toygarian. He's a tiger-looking character, but I think it's pronounced Toygarian. He comes to this planet. They're on Sullust. Dooku's on this mission to draw up support for the Confederacy, the Separatists. And here you have this Jedi on this other mission. They end up being, ganged up on by thugs, and then boom. The red lightsaber ignites, and this Jedi's like, WTF, what is going on here? This man is Sith, and then, it plays out. But, David, you really, this comic spoke to you spiritually.
I really like Count Dooku. I've always liked Count Dooku. I've always liked Christopher Lee and everything he's in, because he's always a bad guy. He was the man with the golden gun. He was the Saruman in Lord of the Rings. And I read this entire comic in his voice, and it made me so happy.
The artwork is just stunning. Luke Ross really just does a fantastic job with this book. We're looking on Sullust right now on your screen. And that Toygarian. I think that's a cool looking Jedi. That is a cool looking Jedi.
I mean, it's a shame he was just created to be expendable, because that is a pretty neat looking design.
I just love this idea of seeing like this Jedi Knight when he was a Padawan, and Dooku is dueling Yoda
with a blue lightsaber, which to me looks really cool.
Makes me so happy, and to know that saber hilt was always there, so he was always this like duelsman, just makes me so happy. Jesse, you read this comic, like what sticks out to you, man? Because you have been across the board. You've enjoyed these Age of Republic books.
Visually,
yeah,
very much enjoy this. Like David, I read it. Anything that Dooku said, I was hearing Christopher Lee in my head, because he was just a phenomenal actor and just excellent individual. I did not like the Jedi Master the Jedi Knight that they had. I just felt like it looks too like it made me think of Winnie the Pooh, because it's just like it looks too much like an earthly thing, like a tiger.
It kind of took you out a little bit.
It kind of took me out of the scene. Now, overall, the setting and everything I enjoyed. Okay, he's trying to build these, alliances, these agreements, kind of with the crime underworld and everything. But I mean, the moment that they introduced the Jedi Knight, I was like, and this guy's gonna die. Like I automatically knew, it was like. Dooku can't have him here because a little predictable.
And just for a little clarification, because you're watching on your screen, you are getting panels interchanged. You're getting some solo panels mixed in with the Dooku. We're just trying to show you a little bit of everything this week, because we're going to be brief. But
so one of the things that I've really liked about these Age of Republic is that there always seems to be some sort of moment between whoever the comic is about and their master. So like with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, we have little segments with Yoda where Yoda's passing some sage advice, and this comic's no different. We get Count Dooku having his mentorship moment with Palpatine, and instead of it being like, channel your inner self or something supportive, it's Dooku saying, well, this guy, if we could turn him, he might be an ally to us. And the moment that he has with Sidious is basically, well, there can only be one apprentice, so you can have him if you're willing to step out of the picture.
Gannon 136 says, since the Jedi Knight is expendable, maybe we should read him in the Schwarzenegger voice. Maybe that would have brought you more joy.
A little more exciting.
A little bit more joy.
It's an interesting thing that I kind of like, what I really did actually like about this comic, concerning the relationship between Dooku and this Jedi Knight, was you get that sense of betrayal. Master Dooku. Well, I guess Count now, but like I find he fondly remembers Count Dooku.
Still don't have that first name yet. But you also get how manipulative Dooku is, because he begins to get the Jedi Knight to like empathize for him.
So it's one of those things where like you can somewhat imagine the shock and horror that he was once kind of a beloved teacher, and now he's the bad guy. So it's just kind of like, wow, I'm thinking on a larger scale of the entire Jedi Order, like feeling that betrayal.
I hope we get more insight into this in Claudia Gray's Master and Apprentice novel that comes out the week of Star Wars Celebration, because it is suggested that we are going to get some time with Dooku running into Qui-Gon maybe, and I would love more of this kind of betrayal, the sense of betrayal, and better understanding how he left the Order. I would love that better explained. What do you think about Count Dooku? What do you think about the panels that we've been showing you? What do you think about the comic we've been telling you about? Do you want more Count Dooku in comics? I say yes. I think a lot of folks in the live chat right now would say yes. If you're watching live, let us know in the comments. Let us know if you're watching on the rewind down in the comment section down below. Let's go ahead and hit the next topic. We're going to go rapid fire here. We're talking about Triple Force Friday. This is going to be the launch of a whole new slate of merchandise on October 4th, and we're calling it Triple Force Friday. Why, David?
Well, we got 3 different properties that they are really going to be pushing with this. The first is Episode 9. The second is The Mandalorian.
Okay.
And the third...
the video game, right?
The video game.
Jedi Fallen Order.
Yep, Jedi Fallen Order. So they're going to be pushing all 3 of those super hard with books, comics, announcements, and releases, and Legos, and action figures, and other merch out there, little tiny figurines. And
Jesse's going to still be skeptical, though. He's still not sure if Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order will happen because it's EA. But we're pretty confident based on that phone call with Bob Iger last week, or the week before last.
And it could have been one of those things where, more on a private level, you're not canceling this.
Yeah.
Because, Disney has to be aware of that, there is a frustration with this particular part of the franchise. 3 games. You know, well, maybe not just 3 games, like 3 you know, like what you'd consider AAA, you know, well, 2 AAA, Battlefront 2015, 2017. Yeah, the mobile game, and I think we had a Lego Star Wars for The Force Awakens. That's it.
One of the things that I really like about Disney's approach to merchandising is that they really just pile it hard on you all at once, normally in time that you can buy all this stuff for Christmas, because they could very easily have a revolving door of new merchandise come out. But I think by dumping it all on 1 or 2 days in a year, they're really able to capture the fans' attention by saying, look at all this cool stuff.
That's fine and good, but you know, one of my concerns with Star Wars promotion in this Disney era is that it sometimes becomes like second best with other properties that Disney owns. You know, I complain, and I'm trying not to be that fan that Pete Fletzer does not like, but you know, I get frustrated with how Infinity War now Endgame is the priority, it seems like, over Star Wars, and I would rather than being competing against each other, 2 different houses. Here we go again with this merchandise dropping on October 4th. Apparently, isn't there another big Disney property that's going to have merch dropping then?
Oh, heck yeah, and I'm super excited. Frozen 2.
Let it go. Made that joke twice in a show.
Yeah, are we allowed to make that joke twice?
I don't know. We're probably going to get fined. Yeah, we'll get a claim. But doesn't that strike you as like just annoying? Isn't it frustrating that you can't just have one? Let Star Wars be the focus.
That doesn't bother me all that much. It really doesn't, because now you can load up everybody in the minivan, take them to Walmart, and you can get all your stuff, Walmart or Target or wherever.
Not our Walmart. Our Walmart isn't there.
And, you know, this is a great time to do it because there was some statistic I read online the other day talking about the obscene quantity of dresses that they sold after Frozen came out the first time, Halloween costumes, and so this is a perfect time for them to release that at the same time. While you're already going to hop in the car to go get your Legos, you can get a dress for your daughter to go out trick-or-treating.
Okay.
And really push the whole Disney family.
Or if you really want to surprise your niece or anything, you'd buy a dress for yourself. Or
I don't think they'd have one that would fit you, Jesse.
That took us down a real dark path. Yeah. You know, the thing that stands out to me, though, and I'm sure that Jesse caught this kind of off the bat, was the fact that it's Triple Force Friday. You're shouting out these 3 properties, but no mention of the Clone Wars, which Season 7 has the series returned to Disney Plus. Here at the end, we are under the impression that we are getting Clone Wars
at the
release of Disney Plus later this year. I think this is another missed opportunity. I don't understand if the fan base has been so supportive of the Clone Wars in the last decade. Why are we not talking about the Clone Wars more? We haven't gotten anything since we got the teaser trailer about it. We need, I feel, some conversation about Clone Wars Season 7. I thought we would get some action figures. There would be Lego sets. We're going to talk about staying on target. We're going to talk about all the Legos and action. Well, actually, we're going to talk about Legos here in just a moment. That dropped in New York this past week. It's like there's no Clone Wars talk. Like, give me that. We got 7,000 Hoth Lego sets. Give me something Clone Wars.
I actually have a theory on this.
Okay. Oh, I cannot wait to hear this.
Okay, well, I think part of it because it's just we're getting one last season, and I think the issue is that by releasing toys or teasing toys, it might give away plot elements. You know, we see this all the time with the current movies. Oh, this figure's coming out, or you know, this set is coming out. So that kind of gives you, what was it? It was like a Snoke's throne room was a Lego set. You know, and it kind of gave, okay, we're going to see the throne room. You know. So I think that's part of the issue here. I think toys, maybe Lego sets related to this final season will come after. I definitely think we're going to get something at Celebration with it.
But if they were to come out with a Lego set, hypothetically, that would be like the Mandalorian War, and then it's like 30 different Mandalorian minifigures, and then I got some clone troopers and a couple of Jedi. I wouldn't be mad about them blowing the big battle, Jesse, because I'd be like, I got all these minifigures. No, you wouldn't.
Because
no, you would not. You would be so jacked because now you know that it's for sure going to happen.
Well, yes, there's
You're not working off assumptions
pros and cons. It's a double-edged sword. So yes, there's the excitement of like, ooh, look at all these Mandalorian Lego figures, but at the same time, that just took away the surprise element of actually seeing this.
I think they've got so many other things that they need to promote now that they really need to be focusing on 9 and the Disney Plus with The Mandalorian.
Now, Patrick, who's in the live chat, he says that he thinks that we're going to get that Season 7 actual trailer. Because remember, we've only gotten a teaser so far. We're actually going to get a trailer from Filoni at Star Wars Celebration, which Filoni's going to be a busy guy. because he's going to be on the Mandalorian panel. He's going to probably have his own panel. Every celebration, he seems to give away some new concept art. I would love for him to unveil a trailer.
David Gilbert mentioned this on the way down, and I actually have to share this thought. I'm kind of frustrated they really haven't released like a schedule for celebration, like what's going on Thursday, what's going on, Friday and Saturday.
I kind of get why they don't, because they want you to buy the tickets well in advance.
I mean, at this point, tickets are it's all sold out except for Monday. Just the last couple weeks, pre-orders for photo ops and autographs became available and everything. So I'm sitting here going, do I want to do this one or this one?
Yes,
but
that's what credit cards are
But
for.
I'm also sitting there going like, the issue is I don't know, when's this panel? If Dave Filoni's having a panel, I don't want it to clash with me going to see Daniel Logan to get an autograph.
Yeah, I can dig that. There's been a few people that have been online kind of voicing their frustrations about not knowing the layout.
I want to know when I can, how to arrange that weekend.
Yeah.
Because that's important for me as a cosplayer, because I want to wear my armor on certain days and everything. A little bit of frustration there, but I mean, overall,
we're getting off topic. Triple Force Friday. Super excited for it.
We're gonna buy a bunch of stuff.
Celebration's exciting.
Hey, let's go on and talk about Star Wars Rebels real quick, though, because we talked about Clone Wars. I want to talk about Rebels too, and we'll just leave the thumb up for this one because it's gonna be very brief. I want to get to Lego talk.
And this is going to be a new book.
Yeah.
It's The Art of Star Wars Rebels.
Yes, it's on the
which
horizon.
I'm really interested in flipping through because I really like this art style compared to some of the other art styles we've had in the Star Wars cartoons.
It's a collaboration between Dark Horse Books and Lucasfilm, which I'm really excited about. Some never before seen concept art. We have the cover here on your screen. That's at least what we believe it's going to be. It's going to also include some commentary from showmakers Dave Filoni, Simon Kinberg, and Carrie Beck, provided by writer Dan Wallace. So be on the lookout. Still trying to confirm the exact date when that's going to fall, but I think it's going to be available. Oh, I'm sorry, October 2019 pre-order is going to be available soon. We'll have an Amazon link, I'm sure, in the near future for that. Let's talk Legos now, because this is going to be, I thought, my favorite topic of the day, and it's actually might be my least favorite. By the way, if you have any thoughts on Clone Wars, if you have any thoughts on Rebels, be sure you're dropping that in live chat or in the comments down below on the rewind. But Lego Star Wars sets from the Resistance and from the movies, they have dropped. 2019 New York Toy Fair. We're finally getting our first look at some of these images. And Jordan, forgive me, there's a slideshow somewhere with images of these Lego sets, and if it's not there, then it's not there, and it's not the end of the world. But we have images of one of the Ace starfighters from the Resistance. We also have Krenrig's. I just said that name wrong. The red interceptor,
General
Venrog or whatever his name is, from Resistance. We're getting a look at that,
which is the most interesting one to me.
Yes, here we go. Here the image. Yes, Jordan found it. Thank you so much, Jordan. So you have this Ace fighter, which I think looks sick. It's a great hybrid, I think, between like the Jedi Starfighters and like Revenge of the Sith, the TIE fighters. Like I love that look. Like it's awesome. But again, this is so niche. Here is the interceptor that everyone's been talking about. It's like a medium size. Like it's not the full scale that I was anticipating.
It feels like it needs more red than black to be accurate to the cartoon.
It feels really compact. But maybe that was by design, Jesse. Do you dig it?
That's the thing is I have the latest rendition of a TIE fighter.
Yeah, it's bigger than that.
Yeah, and
how do you feel? Look at this though. Oh well, we missed the forest on.
See, I'm not a big
Star
fan.
Killer.
I'm not a big fan of the play sets.
These play sets, they have like targets now that you're going to shoot at. These are all medium kid sets.
That's what really upset me. Actually, was seeing the bullseyes. I was like, you don't need a bullseye. That kid's going to fire that missile launcher, and
I mean, a stormtrooper can't hit a bullseye anyway.
Exactly.
So.
I like how the person who set up the set for the Hoth display put the Rebel fighter behind the Imperial gunner, and then put the stormtroopers or the snowtroopers in the Hoth base turrets. So I think they got a little confused when setting this all up. I'm kind of frustrated with the Lego wave of April 2019 in general, not just April, because this is such a climatic year. You're talking 20 years since Phantom. You're talking about the 20th anniversary of the Legos. You're talking about 10th anniversary of Clone Wars. And I just keep beating this, and I'm sorry, but it's frustrating when like the battle on Starkiller Base is my favorite, but it's essentially a battle pack. There's not much to it, and so many junior sets.
You see, I think
but also Legos aren't meant for like a 26-year-old man, so maybe I should stop complaining.
I think I've mentioned this before. Like one of the things I like is picking up the sets that I think depict an important scene. So that battle in Starkiller Base, I think that's, for display purposes, that's a great little set and everything. Again, issues with the playability aspect of having bullseyes. When I was a kid, there were no bullseyes, on the Lego sets. With the Interceptor, my biggest complaint is that it looks very much flimsy compared to the TIE Fighter that I bought and everything. Like a TIE Interceptor, the difference between a TIE Fighter and an Interceptor is simply the wings.
Yeah.
They're essentially the same size cockpit. The cockpit and the attachment to the wings should be the same. And
I wonder if we're just going to get these larger sets like the UCS and just like the more complex sets towards like the release of Episode 9 for that winter slate.
Yeah.
Just because it's the holiday season, people are going to be spending more money. By the way, Gannon corrected me. Major Von Reg is the
Von Reg.
There we go. I don't know what the heck I said. I think I said like Blitzkrieg Bop or something. I don't know. But just not my favorite. Now, however, if I was like Pete, or if I was like, I think Tacoma is in here, watches with a kiddo of his, referencing the live chat. If you got a kiddo, a lot of these sets make a lot of sense. And like, go have fun with it. And play with them, and that's great. Like that's a great hobby to share with your kid. But as like a dude who just collects from me because I'm greedy. I'm just not into this slate. But let us know what you think. Oh, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just because minifigures look great. Like if you're needing minifigures, this is a good time for it.
And if you want some target practice, you can get that as well. Let us know down in the comments below. That's going to do it for Pages, Pixels, Pieces. And I want to shout out one more time Fantasy Shop in Maplewood for being our sponsor. Proud to have that local comic book shop supporting us. Going to have a conversation in the next 7 days with Dave, the manager down there, to get details for a live show on May 4th. I'm saying it now. It's going to happen. But we have to confirm some details to make this thing a reality. So stand by. It's going to be great. But they have comics, collectibles, toys, Magic the Gathering, and board games. Fantasy Shop in St. Louis, proudly serving St. Louis since 1981. You stop in a Fantasy Shop in St. Louis, you be sure you heard about them with Beyond the Blast Doors. Stash or Blast It. We're going to go rapid fire here because time. So Star Wars Episode 9, we mentioned it earlier, but is J.J. Abrams still the only person that knows the title of Episode 9? Jesse, blast or stash it?
Oh, I'd totally stash that. Keep it secret and better, safest place.
Gilbert?
Blast it. I think that at least Kathleen and Bob know.
Blast it, because you know what? I cannot imagine they have the first trailer on a premiere timeline right now with just missing the title slate. Like, I'm hard-pressed to believe that, but it could happen. Next one, we have Star Wars Episode 9. We have Naomi Ackies. Character shares scenes with Finn, Poe, and Rey. Will her character be that relevant in the grand scheme of things in Episode 9? We're trying to conclude the Skywalker saga. Here's a new character. David?
Let's blast it. We have so many characters we need to wrap up storylines for. Why do we need to throw more in there to complicate things?
Fair enough. Jesse?
I'm going to blast it for the same reason. And it's not that I don't like seeing new characters, but this is the final episode.
My favorite guest announcement, number 3 here, the final topic here in Stash It or Blast It. Ian McDiarmid, the Emperor himself, has officially confirmed that he will be at Star Wars Celebration 2019 in Chicago, signing autographs, speaking with the fans. Blast it or stash it. This is an effort to bring the Emperor back at 9. Jesse?
Stash it, and at the moment, the last that I checked, you can still get a photo op with him for like $110.
Is $110 worth it for a photo with a person?
Actually, this is actually interesting because when we went to Wizard World, that was Sean Bean's first Comic-Con ever.
Yeah.
And I'd say he ran about 125. It could be a little bit off on there. So I was actually pleasantly surprised to see how many different celebrities and actors and whatnot. I felt they were actually fairly reasonably priced.
Well, David, you like to throw your money at celebrities for photo ops.
I do.
So Stash or Blast It, we have the Emperor coming.
I'd pay $110 for that. I'd pay a little more if he was in like costume.
Do you think though that it really does feel with him being brought back to voice Rebels, and then you see him coming back to Celebration, like there are a lot of people who are like, is there somehow going to be a tie with like the Emperor and Plagueis and 9? And we've been saying it since Force Awakens. That would be a great bow around this box, but is that really going to happen? I think I'm going to blast that, but I want to totally stash Ian McDiarmid making an appearance here at Star Wars Celebration. That was awesome. Let us know what you think about those Stash or Blasted topics. Of course, when we're doing Stash or Blasted, it's always fun for you to stash or blast with us in the live chat or in the comments down below. Let's hit up Stay on Target, and we're talking about toys. And we're actually just going to focus on Hasbro Toy Fair right now because these images just dropped yesterday, and I lost my mind. there are so many great from the retro collection, which is like which is recreating the original figures. So like the lightsaber blade came out of the arms of the figures. You know, I not really a fan, but you know, it's cool throwback. The Black Series figures were just the variety from Obi-Wan to Afra to 000.
Darth Vader, Darth Maul.
Well, the Darth Vader is like a new. So it's interesting now. So Hasbro with the Black Series is starting an 8-inch series, and some believe that it's like kind of trying to take on the slideshow slice of the action figure pie. It's a little bit bigger fig. It's a little bit more detail, and it's a higher cost. So like right now, your average 6-inch figure that I have several behind me and you, they're going to cost you about $20 to $22. These are like $65, $70. This Vader is pricey, but for 2 extra inches, you know. But some people will pay for an extra 2 inches.
When I saw this, I got excited, and you know, like I've been constantly going, do I need, because I want the Boba Fett one from Sideshow.
Yeah.
You know, these are extremely detailed. That's where the price is going up.
Look at that Vader. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. All the different.
That's not plastic, ladies and gentlemen. There's cloth, there's fabric, there's, you know, probably bits of leather on there, you know, fake leather. But
you see, I'm not an action figure guy, so none of the action figures really called out to me. I will say that the Luke Skywalker looked like really funky.
Yeah.
But actually, I think it's what's on the screen right now. That's the Escape from the Death Star board game. That's something I would play and check out.
Well, you are a collector of board games. I think that you should get that. We should play.
We should?
That would be fun.
But we keep saying about trivia, and we still haven't done trivia.
Well, two weeks ago, we incorporated some trivia on the show. That went fairly well. We got some good feedback from those in the live chat. Some people were commenting down below. They kind of liked that idea. Maybe we should start doing like a Star Wars trivia something. We got to figure out how the flow would work. If anyone has any ideas for that.
Did we need a B1 Battle Droid Black Series figure? I mean, they're not the most complicated.
That Maul figure, though, on your screen is insane. And this is my favorite one. And Jesse kind of fought me on this one before the show, and that I'll let him say it. But this, to me, it's a recreation of the original Obi-Wan figure from '99. It looks spot on, updated, obviously 20 years older. I love it. The texture of it looks really solid. And of course, I'm gonna pick it up.
I'm gonna have to dig up my original one.
I will bring my original too, and we'll have a duel.
Very well, sir.
I'm now imagining like Spaceballs, where you guys are gonna be sitting in front of me, like, you know, using voices.
And then I'm gonna lift the Boba Fett figure here, and I'm gonna have him like kind of crash down. It's gonna be inappropriate. It's gonna
be gentle with that.
It's gonna be just grown men being children. I wanted to make sure though that we shouted out, and I think that we showed it. There's a Chopper figure that I can remember having a conversation. I don't know if it was with you or someone else, but I remember saying they're going to make Chopper a toy for many years to come. And
I don't like Chopper.
The only reason I would buy a Chopper toy is if it was Black Series, but it was in flight. And wouldn't you know, there is an in-flight Chopper figure that I'm really excited for. We have a full screen. Can we go ahead and show Obi-Wan again, Jordan, real quick? Because I'm in love with this. That is a replica of the original packaging. And the cool thing about the original figure, I don't know if you remember, but it came with like a chip stand that you put the figure on, you mounted it, and then there was like this black comlink that you could buy for like $20 or $30, and then you would put the chip on the comlink, and then it would have like 3 to 5 different lines from the movie. It was really cool. My mom would not buy me the comlink, so I had to make up the lines that Obi-Wan made until I went and saw the movie. But no, I really dig that, and I think that the variety. I mean, the Afra figure I think is going to sell like bonkers because that character is loved. I think the fans, if they will the Clone Wars to come back, they will Afra in live action or cartoon somehow, some way. You mentioned the board game. Was there anything that we didn't mention here that we wanted to throw out there?
Not for me.
All right, solid. Let's go hit Fan Comlink. Episode 59. So thankful that you're watching or listening with us. Watching right now on YouTube, we are asking for requests for iTunes. There is a push by some of our supporters to get us back on iTunes. So if that's something that people really want, we will try and do that. And one of those people trying to make that push is Bill Sheehy, who gives us our Fan Comlink question of the day. And he says, it's celebration. We're at a Future of Lucasfilm Star Wars panel, and they talk about all the future films we know about, Benioff and Weiss, Johnson's trilogy, etc. They dim the lights for a surprise look into a film that we have no idea that's coming. What's a surprise film?
Obi-Wan. With Ewan McGregor.
That feels like a really easy reach because we talked so much about wanting that movie, and we know that Ewan would come back for that movie. We know that there was a director for a while, that there was a script in the works. But I want to take that off the table.
if they're going to give us a surprise, it's going to be something that the fans absolutely are enamored about and they've been clamoring for, and that's going to have to be a Obi-Wan movie.
Jesse, I'm sorry, I'm looking in the live chat right now, and people are going about our action figure talk. David with Seeking Near Mint comments says 2 inches. I want to make sure I read this correctly. 2 extra inches does wonders, and he's talking about his action figure, I believe. Seems like Gannon liked the joke as well. Jesse, you can't say Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I don't want you to say Boba Fett. Give me a movie that you think would just completely rattle the entire fan base in the franchise.
Wow, that's a tough one to really speculate on.
Because I want them to come right out, and I
mean, is this a hypothetical, or is this like
what's your dream movie? And you got 10 seconds.
Dream movie for me would be Boba.
I know, but I took that off the table because I didn't want you to say Boba.
You're evil for doing that.
You know what?
Okay, so dream movie probably for me, would probably be something centered like around the Old Republic,
Sith focused maybe.
Like it's kind of like when I saw that first trailer, Deceived, for Star Wars: The Old Republic, with Darth Malgus walking up the steps into the Jedi Temple. Seeing something like that would be mind blowing. Different era. Kind of new characters, not necessarily Darth Malgus or Darth Revan, but that would be kind of crazy. Now, on the flip side, if they do any of that, I could totally see them hitting us with a surprise, like the actual surprise, like a Clone Wars trailer or something like that.
We know Hayden Christensen's supposed to be there, and he did recently get divorced, so he may need the money. Could we have a
prequel?
Yeah.
I would love to see. I would honestly be okay with Hayden Christensen coming back for a Clone Wars focused movie. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But I want Age of Old Republic. I want Sith Wars. I want lots of Jedi and lots of Sith on the battlefield. I honestly think it would be bold if they put a Sith as a lead of a movie. So let's do like a Bane, or I think Bane would make the most sense for a 2. So let's explore that. You might be able to do that with Malgus, but I just think Bane would be perfect. Let him be the center and give us a baddie as the lead. They haven't done that yet. I think that'd be fun. Gannon says, I think he's making the push for Obi-Wan. It would be kind of cool for Red Celebration. The lights go dark, and then you just have Obi-Wan, like a light come on Ewan McGregor, and he goes, hello there. And then again, Jesse would jump out of his Mandalorian armor and would have to be taken out of the premises because he'd be naked.
I don't know. It's pretty form-fitting. I don't think I'd come out of it that easily.
JD in the live chat says, please do trivia. Gannon136 likes those new Solo Black Series figures as well. McFarlane Toys should be making Star Wars figures, according to David Seeking Near Mint comic. That's going to do it for Fan Comlink, and that's going to do it for episode 59 of Beyond the Blast Doors. We went long today. We did almost a 2-hour show today, but I think it was well worth it. I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to thank everyone in the live chat for being here. Do us a favor if you haven't already. Smash that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. When this live stream ends, please take the time to come back and give us feedback in the comment section under the episode. The more people who comment on our episode means the more people who see it. That's how YouTube rewards us now. And so if you can comment down there and let us know what you think about the live interview with Pete Fletzer. Of course, thanks to Pete for giving so much of his time today.
Which was amazing.
It was an awesome interview, and I had an absolute blast with him. Excited to have him back on the show. What do you think about that interview? What do you think about what we talked about? We kind of hit every IP in Star Wars right now today. So pretty fun, pretty impressive. But that is going to do it. One quick reminder, you can always follow us up to, we're posting news, photos behind the scenes, thoughts on comics, whatever. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you're following us there. It's time for lunch. It's time to go to work in a little bit. Let's throw the end credits up there. Make sure that you're keeping in touch with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll have John Hoey with us from Star Wars Resistance Broadcast.
Thank you for watching Beyond the Blast Doors. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars conversation.